Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Spiritualized with Chris and Jess. We have been in an exciting series having conversations, high frequency conversations with reality benders and people who we feel not only help others transcend their realities, but also transcend their own realities in their own businesses and with their purposes. And so we're so excited to have Julie Chang to our podcast. Hi, Julie.
Hello. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jess. Thanks so much
Hello.
for having me.
Yes, we love you. So Julie is a dear friend and client. We get to really help um, connect on so many different levels, our friendship, but our spiritual journeys, and then also with the amazing work that Julie does in her business. I want to just pass it to you, Julie, just to introduce yourself to the podcast, and then also I can't wait to have this conversation around spirit babies.
Oh, thank you. Well, actually, I was going to self-title myself spiritual conception coach, but I think I'm going to rename myself to reality bender right now. I love that term. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm actually a spiritual conception coach. So I have really the greatest privilege of helping women on an intuitive and heart-led journey to invite in their baby intentionally. So for those who are facing challenges or who just want the extra support on their baby journey, I'm there to support them on that. In order to manifest their baby consciously, what we do is we align their heart and mind with their vision of the family that they want. And it's been just an amazing process where I teach women how to connect with their bodies to get guidance on things like the traditional things like nutrition and fitness and supplements and overall health to create a nurturing and welcoming space in their bodies for their future babies. And it's just a really, truly a blessing to bend reality in this way to help with the conception journey, the motherhood journey, and growing families in such a unique and special way.
Well, let's start off first by going into the spirit baby, really at the sort of start of everything. And when you describe to me what you're actually doing and what is happening in the spirit world with the babies coming through, it was so fascinating to me because I'd actually never heard this really talked about very much. So, yeah, I think this would be a great place to start. What is going on with these babies in the spirit realm, looking for their parents, and tell us what's going on there.
Oh, wow. So thank you for asking about that, because honestly, that's probably the most special aspect about what I do is I show women how to connect with their spirit baby, even before conception. So I do this for women carrying their own babies and even surrogates, because this is all energy. They can, whether or not they're carrying their own babies, they can connect with their babies even before conception and definitely before birth during pregnancy. So it's just such an incredible journey to be with them on. What I do differently from maybe other quote unquote psychics is that I don't see the spirit babies on their behalf. I teach my clients how to connect with their spirit babies so they communicate with them. And so the power in that is that number one, if they've been trying for a while and they haven't been successful, it gives them reassurance that there is an actual baby for them. And so this way they know that they're actually, calling in a very specific baby. And then the other thing too is that they can also get guidance from the spirit baby, because the spirit baby has that kind of greater view of what's going on with my client, often her partner as well, and can give actually very specific guidance in terms of what it is that they need to focus on to help call them in. And so it's really amazing and that they can do that. So with the spirit babies, what I tell my clients is that regardless of how long their journey has been or how challenging it may have been, as long as they have a really heartfelt desire for a baby, that call is being answered. There are more than enough souls. Oh, just to backtrack, spirit babies, I forgot to mention this. Oops. So spirit babies are the souls of unborn children. And so I think most people just kind of connect with their physical body and don't really think beyond that. But we have a soul aspect to ourselves, right? And so that soul aspect is eternal. And it's in energy form, it's a frequency. And because it's a frequency, we can connect to them. And so when the woman, so going back to when a woman has a heartfelt desire for a baby, that call is being answered, no question, because there are many, many more souls, unborn souls, that want to manifest into the physical plane than there is demand of mothers. So the demand of mothers wanting to have children and babies is in much smaller supply than the actual spirit babies who want to come in. And so sometimes they are attached to the mother because of a previous connection, like a previous lifetime or incarnation. And sometimes they're brand new. For example, a client of mine who is now 47 and she's pregnant. She's actually due in a month. And so she's towards the tail end of her pregnancy. When she as we were connecting with her baby, what came through and what the baby communicated with her is that the reason why that baby wanted to come into the physical was that it was because that baby felt resonance with the parents and the family. The baby really had never incarnated. So this was the first lifetime, which is actually quite rare in terms of the clients that I've worked with. They've usually had previous lifetimes. So this baby has never incarnated into the physical plane at all. And the reason why they did that was just because they loved the energy of this family and they wanted to come in and be part of this family. And when I've asked the baby, or through the mother, and I've instructed the mother to ask the baby why they want to come in, it's actually a girl, why she wants to come in, she kept saying it's because she wants to experience love. She wants to experience love through this family. And just even saying that, it gives me shivers, because that is the pure intent of most babies that I've encountered with my clients, is that they just really want to be with their parents, their chosen parents, to experience the love. Because my clients, in order to even be open to the concept of spirit babies, they have to be at a certain level of consciousness in order to even be open to that idea. And so they tend to be higher states of consciousness. They hold higher frequencies. And because they hold higher frequencies, their babies, their spirit babies, also are at a higher frequency. They tend not to have a lot of karma to work through. So they're coming in because they want to have these really pure experiences of love, of enjoying different aspects of the physical life. Some of them want to be leaders and teachers, not all of them. Others just want to be part of the family. And so they want to be in environments that can help to nurture that desire. And so that's kind of the thing about spirit babies, is that, they can be first timers or they can have had many lifetimes. And it's fascinating because the ones who have had many lifetimes, they're very specific about what they like. Like this one who's never been in, we ask, well, what is it that's your preference? Do you have a color preference? Do you have preference for certain games or foods? And like, no, everything's new to me, so I'm good. I'm open to all of that. Whereas with other spirit babies, they're very specific about, I like the color yellow, and I like, I like gardening. I want to be in this environment. So it's every spirit baby, just like humans, have different personalities. And that's really been the fun part about it, is just discovering these personalities even before they come in, so that the parents actually are more prepared to be able to nurture, to create an environment that is really growth oriented for that baby. So it's amazing.
Yeah, what sort of comes to mind then is when you have that sort of information, it's actually incredible to know if you've got a baby coming through that's the first time incarnating, on this planet, because you're going to have a level of sympathy or compassion when they probably maybe perhaps are more sensitive. And we see a lot of sensitive children in the environment that don't, the adults don't understand the sensitivity and why it's there. And so there's I think that's such incredible information to have when the child is coming through of what their needs are. And I love the idea that it's being specifically communicated through the mother, and that that is there. So what would you say, what would be interesting is to hear some of the stories that come through, or what are sort of the most interesting stories that you come across between the conversation between baby and mother?
One of the best stories is the one that I just mentioned, which is that a client with the brand new baby. And what an astute observation that you made, Jess. Those type of babies do need a lot more patience, because they are going to be very, very sensitive to the Earth's environment, because they've never been here. So so their parents do need to have more patience with them. It kind of be able to hold that energy, that sensitivity, and not bring their own expectations onto that child, and letting them develop on their own. And that's really what the babies are seeking, is those type of parents who are able to provide that open space for them to just be who they are. Yesterday, I was on a call with a client, and she had been having trouble connecting with her spirit baby. And so I guided her on it. And so in the past, she thought that this baby was more of a shy baby, because there wasn't a whole lot of interaction. And then when I helped guide her, it turned out that this baby is actually really playful and loves to play hide and seek. So what I had her do was I had her play hide and seek with her spirit baby in her mind, and the baby loved it, and she could feel the energy of it. Even I could, like, the energy of it was so strong that I could feel it. And so in the beginning, she wasn't really sure if it was her spirit baby or not. But then as she kind of connected with the baby more, it became much more clear and distinct. Like, she could feel the physical sensation of it. And then when the baby left at the end of our session, she could feel a coldness, because the energy had left, that warmth and that love had left. So that comes up quite a bit. And it's always fun to interact with babies that have a lot of curiosity, or that are more assertive, because they're very adamant about what it is that they really enjoy and want. Like, they're very specific about like how they want their bedrooms decorated, because we talk about that. Like, how would you want your bedroom decorated? What kind of toys would you want to play with? What foods would you like? Or like, what are your areas of interest? And there was one baby who it seems like would be kind of more of an educator or teacher, and and communicated with her parent that she wanted to have books all around, wanted the parents to read to her all the time about different subjects, not just one subject, lots of different subjects. And so that was really interesting. It's just really fun to get to know the personalities, because everyone is so different. It's just like in real life.
I mean,
one more question before I pass over to Chris, so he wants to jump in. Because we've worked with you, we know that you really you specialize in women over 40, and so I wonder what significance that is in that sort of delay in the baby coming, because I get a sense that that's a time in their life where the parents are much more settled, they know who they are, they have much more maturity. Can you speak to that sort of window between 40 and 50 and beyond, getting pregnant, and why you think that the babies might be wanting to come to the older parents?
So the thing about with women over 40s is that they are often have been trying for quite a while to get pregnant. And so they have needed to cultivate a lot more patience than someone who is younger. They've had to cultivate a lot of they've self-reflected a lot. So there's much more of an expansion of growth within themselves to be able to hold space for another child. And it goes back to what I said before, is that the women in 40s and over tend to have more of a capacity to allow the children to be who they need to be, and not to superimpose their expectations on the children, which is in greater proportion to like younger mothers tend to have that a little bit more. Whereas women over 40, because they generally have taken longer to get pregnant, to have their babies, once those babies come in, the gratitude and the love that they have for that baby that they've worked so hard for, it creates that spaciousness for the baby to develop in. And so I think that's really kind of the biggest advantage for women in their 40s. There's also more financial resources for the babies as well, because those babies often want to have different experiences. Like, I remember one client, she was saying her baby wanted to go horseback riding and wanted to have a horse. I'm like, well, okay, that's not something that can be provided for most women who are in their 20s or 30s, because they don't have the financial resources. So depending on the baby, like, they might need a family that can provide them with the education that they're seeking. The education is a really big thing. It seems like for a lot of the babies, is they really want to have that education. They want to be in very specific circumstances that women over 40 tend to be able to provide more of. Yeah.
So Julie, I know one of the things that we talk about is really how there is this prevalent conversation around age for mothers, and the difficulties that they experience biologically in terms of being able to bear children. But you've had a lot of great success supporting women who have been told by different doctors and going through different processes that it was just never going to happen, and yet a process through which you're facilitating as a divine channel to connect really allows the woman to really come into her pregnancy. So can you just tell us a little bit more about, like, how that makes you feel? I know that, like, whenever we're having our conversations, you're always so excited for, like, the joy that you get to bring to these mothers, and just that happiness that they feel once they've overcome what the conversation in society says it is.
Yeah, first and foremost, I do believe that if someone has, like I said, this heartfelt, really deep desire to be a mother, I really do think that they have that physical capability of doing so, regardless of their age, of their medical history, of their medical diagnosis or past history. It doesn't matter. If they really feel it, I do really believe that they can do it. The thing is that society has this kind of, and I consider it very arbitrary, cutoff in terms of what they tell women. For many doctors, they tell women that once they hit 40, then their fertility just kind of jumps off a cliff. And that's, to me, a really random number, just because that can vary depending on a doctor. Like, I've heard doctors bump it down to 35. And so there's no consensus about it. It's just kind of just a common norm. And I don't buy into that. The problem is that because it's part of the social conditioning, many women buy into that. And so, yeah, I mean, is it going to take longer because they're in their 40s? For sure, probably, most likely. It's just because as we get older, our bodies just take longer to respond to the encouragement that we give it, to the nutrition that we give it. And that's normal. And that's not an issue. It's just that for women in the 40s, there's always this time crunch that they need to get pregnant right now. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. They're going to miss the boat. And a lot of what I do is really to help women drop that time aspect, because as soon as they have this hourglass in the back of their mind, it creates a lot of resistance within them, and they really can't then their heart and their mind just becomes conflicted, and they don't align anymore. And that's really a big part of this journey, is just really it's everything, is to have that alignment and that harmony between what the heart wants and what the mind is saying, because it's often in conflict. And the mind conflicts with the heart based on what other people say.
Yeah.
Because limiting beliefs, we aren't born with limiting beliefs. They're given to us by society, by people that we give authority to, but they're not inherently part of us. And so many people have just absorbed it as part of going through life. And a lot of this process is to just cut the cords from that, to decondition, to repattern the thoughts and the beliefs. Because in order to really achieve something that is so personal to them and so important to them, they really have to believe it. It can't be a superficial, yes, I want this, but underneath the underlying energy is, I doubt myself, and I'm worried that it's not going to happen. Like that's a misalignment, and we have to really work at harmonizing all of the energies so that they can tune into the frequency of their baby, because it's kind of like tuning into a radio station on a radio. Their baby is at a very specific radio station, let's say 93.3, and the mother has to tune into that frequency. But if the mother's frequency is tinged with doubt and anxiety and fear, they're nowhere near 93.3. They're like 100.7. They're on a different channel. And so part of tuning into their baby's frequency is to release that fear and to let go of the pressure of time, to let go of the potential disappointments of failed cycles or not getting pregnant, during a normal menstrual cycle. A lot of it is just really kind of releasing that past and just leaving it in the past, and starting and being in the present moment of giving themselves the grace of having a blank slate in each moment in time. And with that blank slate, then they can really tune into the frequency of their baby, and that's how they can match up. And then the baby comes in. And I've had people that felt like they literally felt the energy of the baby slide into their body, and then then the next session with them, they're like, oh, I'm pregnant. And so it is that receiving, allowing their body to receive that signal and to hold that energy. And in terms of speaking of holding the energy can come in so they can get pregnant, but they also have to be able to stabilize their emotions to hold the energy of it, because if it comes in, they can't collapse into worry, into anxiety about like what next, what's the blood test that I have to do next, what about the ultrasound? Like they go into all of these vicious thought patterns and that's self-defeating. So they have to be able to hold their nervous system strong enough so that when they actually do get pregnant, they don't flip out, and that they can really maintain that strong energy for their baby, because their baby needs that reassurance, just like an infant or toddler needs their parents to provide a safe and comfortable and secure environment. It's the same with the spirit babies, but it's an internal environment. In this case, it's not an external environment of the home. It's an internal environment in the mother's body. So the mother has to feel calm, has to feel safe, has to feel confident in herself. That's what the baby is looking for. And that's what we work towards really cultivating and nurturing for them.
Julie, one of the things that you talked about in terms of the spirit baby was, that they have a personality, and that, when you look at the movie Soul, you could see the illustration of like when they actually are choosing things and what they want to do and things like that. How much does the spirit baby have control of in terms of like knowing what lessons it's going to take on, and just like choosing what parent to go with? Like, how much does a spirit baby know?
So from my aspect, from my interactions with my clients, they have the spirit baby has complete control over what parents to choose. That's 100% within their control. They can choose to, and then the parents also have the control on the other side as well, on their side, to accept or not accept the baby. So typically, but usually the parents really aren't intentional and conscious enough to make that discernment. The reason why I say that is because I've been in a session where they've connected with their spirit baby, and then another baby came in and wanted to be her child. But it was the first time that he had come in when she had already established a connection with another spirit baby. And so I told her to just kind of kindly ask him to go away and find another available mother. And he left. So on the mother side, they have control as well. This is where like people talk about choosing genders and stuff. Sometimes the spirit baby wants to be a certain sex, male or female. Sometimes they have a preference. And then, you know, I also have had clients who want to call in twins. So those babies need to want to come in as twins, because most of them don't usually. And so there is control on parent side. On the spirit baby side, in terms of their life lessons, they don't, when I'm connecting with them, they don't actually talk very much about their life plans and what they're meant to learn. They usually only talk about what excites them, what they're looking forward to. They don't seem to really disclose a lot about their life purpose. I think it's kind of a one step at a time kind of thing, because at the they tend to disclose more once the woman is pregnant, and then they go into a little bit more detail about what their purpose is, but generally not a whole lot. I think a lot of it starts to get even veiled at that point. I don't know.
Okay, so you were talking earlier about the attachment to time, and what was really coming through for me was which also in my work in manifestation, so much is around divine timing. We never know why things are happening at certain times. And so what it was making me think of is, you know, you have a baby wanting to come through, but it's waiting for a specific time. There's something that maybe it's waiting for more spiritual development within the woman, or more something it needs to happen before the baby incarnates. And I wonder what your thoughts are on divine timing in this instance.
Yeah, great question. Definitely with my clients, it seems like the babies, and you hit it right on the head of it. It seems like they want a certain level of spiritual development in the women. And so, and that could be, a lot of times it's just patience, it's trust, it's belief. They want to see a certain level of trust for some reason and belief in themselves before they feel like they're ready. It's the whole that letting go process of the doubts and the anxieties. They really don't want to be in that atmosphere. Just in general, I don't think that there's really any exception that I can think of where the baby is rather not tolerant of it, and not in a judgment way. It's just, I think it's just uncomfortable with them. It just doesn't sync to their frequency. And so, that's why women in their 40s tend to be who I work with, because they are more interested in self-development and in spiritual growth. So they tend to call in higher frequency spirit babies who have less karma to work with, to work through, and are more already in a naturally more expanded state. Oh, and sorry, in terms of divine timing. So in terms of divine timing, for sure, there is an element of that, because the only thing that really the mother can control is herself and her response to the situation, right? To her motherhood journey. And that's really where the guidance is directed towards, is how she can place herself in a better position to receive the baby and for the timing to come into place. The baby has no control over the timing. And so it's something where all parties have to come to the table ready and prepared, so that when timing kicks in, it's all set to go. And that's something that's out of all of our controls. And it's just really about just doing the preparation to be prepared. And that's really where I work with the clients. And then And then usually it happens pretty quickly once the woman has gotten to a certain point in their spiritual development where they've released their doubts and their anxieties, and they're just really in that surrendered state of just being open to receiving the baby without the fears.
Yeah, because what I see, having worked very closely with you, is that you're so embodied in the having let go within your own life, within your own reality, completely surrendered. And so that I know that anyone coming to you is able to feel the frequency, that you're not just saying, let go, or whatever, whatever they need to do. It's so embodied within you that frequency has to be passed on. So that's just what I'm noticing, having known you for a long time, that you have that extra element of that embodiment that can be communicated to the mother. It would be interesting to know what your thoughts are on the relationship between the mother and father as to the success of the baby coming through.
Yeah, so that's really critical. One of my criteria with working with women one-on-one or in my main group coaching program is that they have to have a very solid relationship, very loving relationship with their partner, because at the end of the day, this is a very magical process. And really that's what's attracted me to this whole field for really since I was a teenager. I've always wanted to work with babies and getting pregnant and stuff. I just didn't realize it would be in the spiritual capacity. And so it's a magical, like the fact that two cells can come together and create this human being, it's magical. And the relationship between the partners has to remain magical as well. I think that's really critical. If there's fractures or if there's tension, it just creates a lot of resistance, and I just don't see it working very well at all for my clients and for women in their 40s. And so that's kind of the main thing, is that they have to what I tell clients is, number one, they need to take care of themselves. Self-care is first and foremost the top priority, bar none, no exception. They have to take care of themselves and establish the boundaries so that they do put themselves first. And then number two is their relationship with their partner. That's number two. The baby is actually relatively low on the list in terms of the priority, because as long as they're taking care of themselves, then they're preparing the environment for the baby to come in. They don't actually need to put a lot of focus. They can just let it go. Going back to letting go. They've set the intention one time and it's a heartfelt, they've sent the request out to the universe. They can trust and believe that it's coming, that there has been an answer. So then the rest of the journey is about taking care of themselves and their relationship with their partner. If those things are really handled solidly and it's very secure, I don't see why it couldn't happen. And it's actually quite rare for my clients not to have that happen and be successful when they have those components in place.
Julie, one of the things that you talk about is when a client comes in very attached to the baby. I mean, besides like money or a relationship, I can't see anything else that people get more attached to than wanting to have a child. Like when you're speaking about surrendering and letting go, like how does that work when, the client is very attached, or they're, up against some pressure, or, they know that they have to have the baby? Like, what is the practice that you help them come into to really surrender and trust?
So part of it is that they have to recognize that wanting a baby is in order to get an emotional experience. Because if getting the baby by itself meant that they would be happy and satisfied and content, then every single parent on this planet would be feeling that. That's not true. It's because they assign a particular emotional experience with having a baby. And so part of that goes back to what I just said about taking care of themselves and their relationship with their partners. They have to feel that emotional experience, whether it's love, fulfillment, serenity, contentment, whatever it is that they imagine having an experience of with the baby. They have to be able to bring that into their present moment with the current circumstances as it is. And that's how they're able to become a vibrational match to their baby. That's how they tune in to that radio station, is by bringing in those emotions right now, and for them to genuinely feel it and to embody that. And so that it's really deep within, and they walk through life that way. And when they really focus on themselves, the attachment naturally starts to soften and it starts to drop, because they come into their own and they feel that fulfillment within themselves without having to change the external world. Because before our work together, they're looking to the outside in order to fill some sort of void to make them happy. But if they turn it around and do the work from the inside out, then paradoxically, the need for the baby actually releases. And then that's when the baby comes in. And we hear a lot about how stories of women, how like they just let it go, or they've just kind of given up and then they got pregnant. It's because they let go of the attachment of it. And so we do it very intentionally by really focusing on themselves and really following their bliss and being able to really touch ecstasy, in their daily lives, and really having that playfulness and the curiosity, just really making it not so serious, but just more of a lighthearted adventure, allowing it to just unfold in front of them. And that's how they can let go.
I love that.
Yeah, it's I could have done with you when I was trying to get pregnant, 11 years ago, because it took about a year. I'd waited till sort of 39. I didn't want to wait, but that's just, my husband at the time wanted to wait. So it then took about a year, and every month was, because I didn't have any of that support, was incredibly emotional. It was a roller coaster. It was so heartbreaking, because there was just this feeling like, what if it didn't happen? Because especially if you want a baby, it's so part of our human experience. And so the thought of it not happening was just really, really difficult for me to handle. And so it got to that point where I'm like, this has to happen. So I'm going to have to try IVF. So I sort of, got that all organized, and I was about to go to my appointment. And that's when that release happened, and I got pregnant, and it was naturally. And when I saw the midwife for the first appointment, whatever, she's like, this is so common. Everyone sort of books in for IVF, and as soon as they just release and go, this is sort of going to be taken care of, and possibly, that they just relax, and then so many women get pregnant. So I completely understand that moment of just like release, and to have that option to have someone there with you, because I just didn't even know that was a possibility, would have been so, would probably saved me so much heartache, because it really is just such a difficult time when you're not being supported. So that was my experience with it. And so to have that out there for women, and for the father as well, is such an incredible gift to the world. So yeah, didn't have a question there. It was just more my experience of what I'd been through in that situation.
Yeah, a lot of the advice that I give to my clients, it's actually counter to traditional and conventional advice. And I often, because they've usually been on this journey for a while, and they've kind of done everything. And so by the time they get to me, I'm proud to say, for many of my clients, I'm their last resort, and I'm totally fine with that. And I love that, because it actually takes the pressure off of me, because they've done all of this stuff. Like, they've done egg donors and surrogates, and they've never gotten pregnant on fertility medications and stuff like that, and they haven't gotten pregnant. And so my advice is, a lot of times, is just drop everything. Drop the tracking, drop the temperature charting, drop the constantly going to the doctor's appointments, stop going online, like just drop it, and just focus on, how do you make your life fun? Like, live your life the way you want it to, and so have great, crazy rabbit bunny sex, and just however much you want. Don't think about when your fertile window period is. Just do it because you want to connect with your partner. That's the magic. That's what we're looking for. You know, go out for, make your travel plans, right? Okay, you may have to change it once you're pregnant, but, you know, I think most people are okay with sucking up the cancellation fees, absorbing the cancellation fees in order to have a baby. So just live your life as, you know, as if you're just going to get pregnant. And that's a lot of the work that I do, as well as just getting into the identity of this is for me, it's done. And that's a lot of the work, is just that belief in it's done. As long as I hold that belief steady and strong, it will come. It's just that it wavers too much. In a lot of women in their 40s, it kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. So the universe is kind of like, well, what is it that you want? I can't tell, because on one side you're saying that you want a baby, but then on the other side you're scared of having a baby, because the scared of having a baby or not having a baby is another real thing. And so it isn't a consistent message that is being broadcast to the universe. So they have to stay in the identity of, I'm going to be a mother. I don't care how long it takes, and I don't know how it's going to happen, and I'm fine with that. But all I know is I'm going to be a mother, and I'm going to have a blast while I'm doing that. And that, to me, is the blueprint to success in a nutshell.
Would you say that you could like apply all of that to also manifesting, just generally speaking, like being able to kind of get into that feeling of trust and knowing that it's done, so that you can kind of just step away and go and have fun?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole, you know, letting go process of, like, for me, it's just, I just going with the flow of life and just really trusting that the universe is taking care of you. It's gotten your order. Like you've put it in your order to the restaurant. They management has gotten it, and they're fulfilling the order. Just sometimes it takes, you know, it just takes a little time sometimes for the physical manifestation to come. But once you're really solid in that identity of being a mother, or whatever it is, the relationship or the money and stuff, it does come. And so that's really, and for most people, they've seen that in other aspects of their life. So they just have to bring that confidence that they've seen into this area where it's so personal to them, where the stakes are so high. And that's the issue, is that there's a lot riding on it, but they have to really be able to detach themselves from that.
You know, after the woman gets pregnant, I know that you are still there, you're still helping them through the pregnancy. Because in my own experience, I thought, you know, I was just gonna love pregnancy. It was just gonna be like, I just see, and everyone would around me would say the same thing. Oh, you're just going to be like, you know, someone who loves pregnancy. And I hated every minute, because I was terrified. I just want this to be over, just to know that the baby is safe. And so I spent 9 months just feeling really, really scared. And so again, have that support of just someone there, just and you know, just helping you through. Do you still connect with the baby, or does the mother still connect with the baby through you after they're pregnant?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the pregnancy, that's actually the way that we help to stabilize the nervous system. And so this way the woman doesn't freak out as much, because, you know, because it's a nervous time, right? That they want to make sure that the baby is healthy. And so it's actually very calming and reassuring to connect with their baby during this time, to connect with their bodies, to connect with the baby's body. So the thing about what people don't often think about or realize is that the baby's body has its own consciousness. It has its own intelligence that's actually separate from the spirit baby. And so when you think about it, it makes sense when you actually think about it, because we have our soul, the awareness of who we are, but our body has an innate intelligence. My heart's beating, the digestive system is working. I can walk without really having to think too much about it. I don't have to go into the ins and outs of the operations of my body. So the body has its own innate intelligence. And that's separate from the spirit baby. And so during pregnancy, we can connect with that body and ask it, what is it that it needs for support? And we do that all the time, which is great, because then it's like, that's part of the reassurance Also, as sometimes they may have physical symptoms that come up, like heartburn's a really common one. And that's something that I can teach the clients on how to just be able to control and just energetically, just really by paying attention to it. Because if you can catch it right at the beginning, at that point, it's just it's an energetic imbalance that we can correct very easily. And so that's another benefit of continuing to connect with the baby during pregnancy. And then the other really cool thing is that as they get closer to delivery, we can prepare the baby for delivery. We can prepare the body for delivery. So we can actually ask it to be on time, or give or take a few days, and really to call in an easy delivery, an easy and healthy delivery. Like, that's all things that we can do very intentionally. And that's the other aspect of working with the spirit baby, working with the mother's body, working with the baby's body during pregnancy. There are still a lot of things that we can do during that time.
Yeah, because you have like a really solid history of working in the fertility space, because you're working with acupuncture before, and much more in that space before you shifted over. So I love that you come with such a solid foundation of that. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more to that, and how that really also helps to inform your ability to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up, because I often forget about that, because now I'm so much in the spiritual space that I actually forget that I spent like 20 years as a fertility acupuncturist with acupuncture and herbs, in supporting women. So I did that from that aspect. I went, my progression and really my personal evolution has just really evolved, because as an undergrad, I have still a Bachelor of Science in microbiology and molecular genetics from UCLA. So it was very Western oriented, very kind of scientific, like study oriented. And then I shifted to acupuncture. I was in that space for 20 years. And then just kind of as a reflection of my own personal interest. And actually it happened about, I would say probably about 3 years before I retired from acupuncture. It is what sparked this whole spiritual journey. Was I worked with a client, and at that point I was experimenting with using acupuncture points to help with improving fertility, but they were not traditional points. And then I was starting to kind of get interested in the whole spirit baby concept. And so I was still new to it at that point. And I remember that there was this one client, and she was lying on the table, and she said she felt something slide into her. And we were like, oh, okay, interesting. We don't know what that is. And then when she came back like the following week, she said she was pregnant. I'm like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. And that's kind of what started my whole dive into the spirit baby and just working from the spiritual aspect. And then so now I've just shifted completely into the spiritual part of it, of working with the spirit baby, working with the body, the intuitive part of it. Really kind of more making this journey more heart-led instead of fear-led and doubt-led. But because I have that really strong background and experience with working with so many women, it really kind of helped me in this, so that when I jumped into the spirit baby part and the spiritual fertility part, it was just really easy to unfold that in. And which is why I specialize in women over 40, because it's such a niche group, and there are very few people in the world who can address it successfully, because they are a challenging group for sure, in the sense that there are more that they have to deal with in terms of not just the physical issues, but also the emotional issues and the spiritual issues that just aren't part of the package of women in their 20s and early 30s. And so I think that I'm much more prepared than probably a lot of people coming into this field, because I've had so much experience with it. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yes. Julie, one of the things that I love is like every time you speak, when you have these client wins, but even just when they make that shift, they like turn over to the point where they no longer are doubting, they're more relaxed and at ease. I want to know, just because you get so much joy from this experience and supporting women, like what are the greatest takeaways doing the work that you do, that you've learned from your own clients?
I think so speaking to that point where it's obviously I'm really happy when they get pregnant and have their babies. Obviously that makes me ecstatic. But then there's a long period before then, because for many clients, I have to work with them for maybe a year, even 2 years, sometimes longer before they get to that point. And so that's a long time. And what's really gratifying is to see them just really enjoying and just taking being able to appreciate their life as it is. Because when they first come to me, they're really not in that space. They're more in a very frustrated, anxious, fearful state. And then as they work with me, they start to just really, their consciousness levels just rise. And for them to be able to shift that, and talk about how much enjoyment they take from their lives, that shift is amazing to me. It's just as fulfilling as them telling me that they're pregnant, because that means that they can now move through their life without this attachment of something needs to happen in order for them to be happy. And from part of what I've learned and I learned so much from working with my clients that I would actually have to sit down and write it out. But part of it is just learning how important it is to let go of that attachment and that need. Because the more that we want the external world to bend to our desires, the less happy we are. And that all that inner happiness, as trite as it may sound, it really does come from the inside. And I can say that my own spiritual journey is really as a result, or direct result, of having worked with so many women, is just being able to recognize that inner peace and contentment comes from within, and it can be cultivated even when the circumstances, the external circumstances, don't reflect that. So you like, we can start that domino effect very easily just by doing the internal shifts. And that's probably one of my biggest takeaways from working with my clients.
Yeah, I'd like to, one of the last things we'll probably be touching on is around the surrogacy, because I told you before, privately, not privately, but outside of the podcast, I'd seen this clip with Khloe Kardashian, and she had not connected with the baby because she felt so guilty taking it away from the birth mother. And from that, I could really see how important your work was for parents going through surrogacy. And can you speak a bit to that, about their journey and how you can help them with that?
Yeah, so for women who are using surrogates for their motherhood journey, they can connect with their spirit baby, even though they're not carrying the baby. And so that can create that connection, because a lot of surrogates have more difficulty, as you said, connecting with their baby because they didn't physically carry them. And then there's also that guilt, as you said, about taking them away from the birth mother. And so in connecting with their spirit baby beforehand, they can cultivate that connection, get to know that baby's personality. And because the spirit baby is around us all the time, it's regardless of whose physical body they will grow in. And so that connection can be done before the baby is born. And I think that would be, it's just incredibly helpful to have that connection, because otherwise the intended mother doesn't have a physical connection to the baby. And so it can take longer for them after the birth to really make that intimate connection. So it just helps to speed the process.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, Jess, because yeah, Khloe she talked about that because she physically carried her first daughter, and then the son, she used a surrogate. So she was saying that throughout that pregnancy, there wasn't that connection. She couldn't even really get in the feeling of like a baby was coming. So that is miraculous that through your work, they can create that intimacy even before, even if she's not physically carrying the baby. So that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can definitely get into the feeling, get to know the baby's personality, likes and dislikes, as I've talked about earlier. Just get to know the baby, just like any other person.
Julie, so just to end the podcast, like what are the last sort of things just in terms of like you and your purpose and like just the work that you're doing that, gets you excited about it?
Well, I think really in the end, what I hope to convey is that my passion is really to empower women on their baby journey, and be able to provide them with the support that they need to really manifest their dream of having a family. Because honestly, I really do believe, and I've said this before, that every woman can have what it is they want with the right guidance, regardless of their age, their medical diagnosis, or their past history. And I just want people to really have that belief in themselves and the trust in kind of the greater aspects, whether it's God or universe or infinite intelligence, that they're supporting them in realizing that dreams. And it's a co-creation of the mother, their partner, father, or partner, their baby, the universe, and all of this is a co-creation. And so the more that they can think of it that way as a team effort, the easier and more likely that this is going to happen. And I've seen this time and time again.
Having worked with you for a number of years, what I know is that you have so much integrity in selecting the woman or the parents you're going to work with, in that you know what to look for in terms of what you specifically can help with, and what you have so much confidence when you're applying that selective process, that you know exactly what you're looking for, so that it's not just like anybody. And I think that has so much integrity in it, and so I don't know whether you want to, we can just finish off here, really speaking about that selection process, because that, again, gives a woman so much more confidence when she knows that you have this ability to see into the situation, and that you really are only going to take on clients that you truly believe that you can help. So, yeah, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So number one, it goes back to women who prioritize themselves first. So they may be very successful entrepreneurs or have demanding careers, but they're willing to set that as a lower priority below themselves. That has to be first and foremost. So they are also open to really exploring different aspects of getting pregnant. And it's not just about the physical 3D aspects of doing the fertility treatments or tracking their menstrual cycle, that there are other things that are not necessarily visible to the senses, that there are things that we can work with. So that's important. The other thing that I already touched on is the relationship with them and their partner. It has to be really solid, very loving, very supportive. The partner has to be 100% supportive in my client's desire to have a baby. It can't just be kind of a very do whatever you want kind of attitude. It's like, I fully support you, whatever you want, I'm there with you. That needs to be in place. And number three, on a very physical aspect, I really want them to eat meat. So I don't take on clients who are vegetarians or vegans, and that's a bias in my own training. In that I was trained as an acupuncturist in Chinese medicine, and so we use animal products as a healing strategy, as a therapeutic strategy. And so that's actually another criteria that I look for in clients, is that they're willing to eat red meat, specifically red meat, because it does make it a lot more it does make it more challenging if they don't, because they're limiting what's available to them in order to optimize their chances of success. And I want to work with women who are open to just utilizing everything that's available to them. And nutrition is one of the most important things, because we're physically building a new body. It's a new body that we're creating, and we need to have everything that's available to us, and that includes animal products. Not to say that vegans or vegetarians can't get pregnant. It's just when I choose my clients, they do need to be open to eating red meat. Those, I think, are really my main criteria that I can think of offhand in terms of who I work with and who are successful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you,
Jess,
guys.
actually, she mentioned that I should be connecting with my spirit baby, so we'll be talking about that soon. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we're excited to just share your vision and hopefully uplift you to other women who are ready to receive their babies here on
Thank
Earth.
you both so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.